There you go. It's that easy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video where we're going to continue with part 2 fixing up my new 3rd generation Firebird Formula project car. If you didn't watch part 1, what I'm trying to do is fix a high idle, hesitation, and dying in gear issue that the car's had since I bought it. These old TPI fuel injection systems are pretty rudimentary. They're complicated at first when you don't understand them, but when you actually get working on them, they're fairly straightforward, and if you're pretty good at troubleshooting things, you'll probably be able to fix one of these yourself. So where I left off last time is I was led with the EST wire being disconnected as probably leading or being part of what the issue is. Now, what the EST wire does is actually controls the timing advance for the car with the ECU based on a number of variables. But in my case, the ignition control module is what is actually going to advance or retard the timing in the car. And what I think is going on, which is common on these cars, is that my ignition control module, or ICM, has failed. The problem's intermittent. The car makes good power, it drives fine, but it has low RPM issues. So I don't know why that is or why it would cause it in the ICM, but I do think after looking under the distributor cap, seeing the condition of the ICM and the metallic area, I guess, on top of the distributor gear drive that actually controls where the timing is, its module, you can replace that, or in my case, which what I'm going to do is replace the entire distributor because it's the original one in the car. It could be broken, there could be slack in it causing timing issues that are intermittent. I don't know. I'm going to replace the whole thing instead of trying to take apart the original one and put in a module that's just under $100 less than a whole new distributor. So I'll get right into that. Replacing the distributor is actually going to be a perfect time to replace the valve cover gaskets too, which is going to be done on this car. What better time to do it when I have the driver side valve cover off and always followed up with the passenger side. So we'll get right into today's video and we'll be setting the engine at top dead center and starting to replace the distributor. Alright, so we are on what seems like day 3, if I'm counting correctly, of trying to get this TPI engine to run correctly, and I think I have it narrowed down to the ignition system based on my findings in the last part of this video. I did buy a brand new distributor assembly which has an ignition control module inside of it, along with another new cap and rotor. I don't think the cap and rotor is a problem. This came as an assembly, so that'll be good. I do have some leaking valve cover gaskets, so I got a set of Felpro VS50088 valve cover gaskets, and I do have 2 PCV valve grommet gaskets as well, which I think is what's actually leaking on the driver's side. It's all over the top of the valve cover, so it's either this or it would be coming out of the filler cap, but it seems to be around the PCV valve, so I'm guessing that's it. And some leftover reverse bulbs, which is great because one of them is out, as I noticed in one of the last clips. The first thing I'm going to do is stab this distributor in, and what I'm going to do that is I'm going to set the number 1 cylinder on top dead center. I'm probably going to end up pulling the valve cover off of this side real quick so I can see the valves, and I'll be able to tell by cranking it over by hand and sticking my finger over the spark plug hole, and I will see that it should be at top dead center when the pressure comes up. Both valves are closed and the rotor is in the number 1, or what's the traditionally number 1 position. That's where I'm going to try and reset it to make this easy on myself. So I'm not going to film a lot of this because I'll be trying to focus on getting this right, but I'll give you the highlights. Alright, so I got the driver's side valve cover off. I thought I might be able to sneak it out behind it, but that is going to be a huge pain, so I just took off the alternator. After doing this stuff for a few years, I found a lot of the times it is in fact easier to take things apart farther than to fight them, and this is a great example of it. People that haven't done this a lot, you do have a hot B12 lead here on the back of your alternator. If you do take it off, I chose not to. Be careful with that. You will short it out and it's straight battery voltage, so careful there. As always, alternator bracket, I got that painted and drying. So while I'm doing this stuff, I'm going to do my best to clean up and paint things and try and make it as good as I can while I'm in there for not a lot of money. But as you can see, there's where one leak was coming from. I haven't cleaned this up at all. You can see down there all that gunk. The engine is really dirty. It does not look that great, to be honest. It's in worse shape than I would have hoped, but you know, this is why you gotta do your maintenance. I don't know if this was a motor that was guilty of not having its oil changes done religiously or what, but it's really full of buildup and it's gross. So we're gonna try and have fun with this while it lasts and make it run as good as it can. I'll try and maybe even run some SeaFoam through it over the next oil change or two and try and clean everything up, but it runs really good, so I'm kind of surprised to see this. But this should take care of one leak and some oil burning smell. There was a little bit leaking up here too, it looked like, but that's our big hitter. New gasket will take care of that. So I'm to the point where I'm going to start removing these plug wires off the distributor cap. Easy way to do this is just mark them with tick marks. This one's marked 7. I put it on there twice because I will inevitably rub some of that off, but as soon as we figure out number 1, the rest of these are going to land real easy. This is just going to save you some time, so it's something that I would recommend and always do, and anybody would. They're all marked accordingly. For everybody that doesn't know, this has the TPI engines have a regular small block Chevy firing order. It's 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. Rotates clockwise. The center one is your coil wire, which distributes ignition voltage to all of them. Just rotates in there and that distributes it accordingly based on where the timing is in the distributor, which you can adjust by twisting it a little bit. So I'm gonna pull these off and try and get top dead center lined up and pull the distributor out. All right, so off camera, I did pull the number 1 cylinder, which is this cylinder, spark plug. And now at the point of the matter is we're gonna set the engine on top dead center based on the number 1 cylinder. We're gonna set 0 degrees of timing. We're going to do that by our timing mark down there. It's going to set right at 0 with our harmonic balancer's little cut and marking it right at 0. We will know that by the piston being at the top of its travel, and both of these valves being closed all the way and seated because it's making compression. Another way we'll verify it is that, coincidentally, the distributor is already pointing in the right direction, but this is not on the correct stroke based on what the harmonic balancer is telling me. The distributor rotor is going to point straight at cylinder 1, which is actually how it works. So that'll be a couple giveaways to know how we are on top dead center of cylinder number 1. So I'm going to rotate the engine over by hand. You can bump it and do this. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but I'm by myself, so I'm going to try and do it by hand, and I'm just going to give it a good shot. About all I can feel, and we are we're like 2 degrees away, so I'm actually just going to bump it forward based on the actual timing mark because the air pressure really died off there at the end. Alright, so I got the new distributor here. I'm going to stab this one in and make it land in the exact same spot. Now on the bottom of these, you may or may not know, but it also is what drives the oil pickup tube on the small block Chevy engine, which has that little flat insert in there. So I gotta actually make the gears mesh and that line up. What I'm gonna do first is make the gears mesh, and then I will rotate the motor by hand until it drops into the oil pickup tube by gravity, I guess. As long as the gears are meshed up, we're gonna be okay. Alright, so right now we are sitting on the cam gear, and if you watch me wiggle it, I actually can't turn the rotor of the distributor at all, which means we're meshed. But we're not all the way in, which means that our oil pickup tube isn't actually lined up correctly with the drive shaft. So what I'm going to do, and I saw in a little quick video last night when I was refreshing my memory on this, instead of guessing and trying to get the absolute perfect alignment, right now it is meshed. I wouldn't turn it over with the starter by any means, but I would do this by hand, and we're going to see this distributor drop right down when the oil pickup tube lines up. It might seem a little counterintuitive, but in my opinion, this is a perfectly fine way to do it. You're not going to be hurting anything, and you'll feel any binding or anything crazy like that. So I'm going to get back on the balancer here and start turning until we drop in. There you go. It's that easy. and I am pointing straight back at cylinder 1 where we should be. A lot of compression there. But anyways, it's that easy. We are bottomed out and seated. So what I'm going to do is actually start putting everything back together, and we'll be setting our timing in no time. Alright, so I'm kind of getting things back together. That bolt that I mentioned earlier, I cannot recommend enough you put a little bit of anti-seize on this hardware. I cleaned all the rust off it. I'm going to drop it back inside of the harness loom hole there, and we're getting close, but just wanted to take a quick moment and mention that, because down the road you'll thank yourself, guaranteed. So the hardware will actually come off for you, or hell, even the next person. You never know how long you'll have a car, I guess. So I'll zip this back together, and I'm going to cut right to when we're going to start the car, and we'll time it. Disconnect. Alright, so we're going to start it. I've got the timing advance EST connector disconnected. We're going to see if I can set it to 6 degrees quick and see if I made any mistakes. With any luck, it's just going to start. It might run a little rough because the timing will be off, but let's see here. Pretty rough. Alright, so I reset the ECU. It takes about 30 seconds to unplug that fuse and the fuse holder right behind the driver's side headlight again. I reconnected the timing advance. We're going to go for a test drive, and hopefully it's going to drive fine now. We'll see if this is the problem. So I'm back on my favorite little cruising road. I think it fixed it. It's never driven this smooth. It doesn't lug almost at all on the highway anymore when you get into overdrive around 1500 to 1800 RPM. I'd wonder if it was misfiring a little bit when the engine had a load on it at low RPM. That would kind of explain the idle issue, and that would explain the chugging at lower. But the car is driving great. It's much, much smoother, I'll give it that. I'll come to a stop quick here. Totally fine. Throw it in park. Barely creeps up to 900 and goes down to 750, 800, right where it should be. Now, right now, as you saw earlier in the video, it would die. I'll just throw it right into drive. Beautiful. I'll even throw it into reverse. It would always die backing up into, it would 100% of the time reliably die backing up into the garage. But right now, no gas pedal. It's perfect. Just like it would run when it didn't have that EST plug plugged in. But I'm gonna say that the distributor or the ignition module in there was bad. So I'm gonna call it a win. This job is done. Alright, so we are done with the driver's side and distributor portion of the video. I'm going to move on to the passenger side, which, as you can see, is entirely buried in there. So I'm going to have to take apart quite a bit of stuff by the looks of it to get this valve cover out, just to do the gasket, which I'm sure is leaking as well. That's a project in and of itself. I am going to take off the oil filler cap and bring it to a hardware store where I'm going to match up the perfect sized O-ring, which is what was causing our leak. Little O-ring in there, you can see it at the top of the threads. It is flat. It is no longer sealing oil from exiting the valve cover. So So I'll be getting a new one of those, if not a whole new oil cap. They're inexpensive, but I'd like to spend 10 cents if possible instead of like $10. So to go pick up that and some other parts, which I think came in the mail and which will be at the parts store, we are going to take the 2000 Pontiac Trans Am WS6, which is a 6-speed car. This car, if you're new to the channel and are not familiar with it, this is my other Firebird. It's an LS1 car, it has a Brian Tooley Racing Stage 4 cam, Speed Engineering long tubes into a Borla catback. Basic bolt-on car. There's a 12-bolt rear end in it made by Strange Engineering. Drives really, really good. It's got a 315 tire out back, and we're going to go for a little putt-putt in this today, and it'll be something fun to go pick up some parts in. So let's go for a little ride to the parts store, and we will hopefully wrap out today's video with putting some miles on it with the new valve cover gasket and some SeaFoam in the engine crankcase to hopefully clean up some of this carbon before our first oil change on it. I haven't done much for updates on this car lately, but I do have it scheduled to go to paint and body to fix the damage on the front bumper cover here. I get a little respray on the back of it. I'm going to repaint the filler panel here, satin black. Otherwise, this car is sweet. Let's go for a ride. Pretty quick. The C6 Corvette that I had was faster previously on the channel. I'd really like to get back into another Corvette, but for now I've got these couple of F-bodies. They're a much more affordable way to get into driving and having fun in a car, so that's kind of what I've been rolling with for the last year or so. And traction control there a couple times. Alright, so we are back from a little bit of a drive. Obviously I'm not filming in the stores or anything because it's very weird for people to go in and stick a camera in people's faces or go shopping. I did end up buying 5 quarts of 5W30 synthetic motor oil, Wix filter for the engine. Here's a serpentine drive belt that I'm going to replace. It's actually shorter than the one that is on here from the factory, and I'll let you guess why, but I'm going to do this in the next video. A couple PCV valves in case one is plugged on either side. Driver's side felt fine. I haven't rattled the passenger side yet, but these are only $2 or3 each, so I'm hoping that we're going to relieve some crankcase pressure, if there is any, with these. SeaFoam wants you to put 1 ounce per quart of engine oil or 1 ounce per gallon of fuel in your engine or fuel tank. In this case, I've already added a whole cycle of it to the fuel tank, and we're going to be doing the crankcase now to hopefully clean up some of that carbon before we do our first oil change. So I'm going to pour this in. I've got about 1/3 left. That's going to be good enough for me. Alright, as you can see, I got the passenger side off. It's leaking in the same spot as the driver's side. So what I'm going to do is just clean up the valve cover really quick, because this is not a fun job on this side. I'm not filming a whole bunch of it and things aren't coming apart real nice. It's an old vehicle, so I'm going to clean up the passenger side valve cover, throw it back together, and we'll be done here in a sec. Alright, so I got the whole passenger side buttoned up. Everything went really good, minus one problem where I took like a check valve maybe, off of the air pump that goes into the exhaust manifold where all the little stainless tubes go. It broke, and luckily there was enough threads where I could put it on snug with some high temp RTV, and hopefully it's going to be fine. I'm going to let it dry for a while, but I'm adding a little bit more deck school to the car. But that's going to about do it for this part. I'm going to start the car, pull it out, get it up to temp, and we'll see if we got any leaks. I had to take out 2 Torx bolts in the back of the manifold, and they are through bolts. So I lost quite a bit of coolant out of there, but hopefully the gasket's going to hold and we won't have to do a lower plenum or anything. It's like a lot of things on this car, that is not really that fun of a job. But like some things on the car, I just don't see how you get the valve cover out of there without moving the harness that's for the fuel injectors, air conditioning, IAC, TPS, everything in there, and it runs down under the engine. I don't know how you could get that valve cover out without getting the harness out of the way, because it's the intake plenum runners, which sucks. So a valve cover gasket job is really cheap to do, but what a pain. A quick view of what I'm talking about down here. There's a little union that broke. I got it out of the way, and on second thought, I probably didn't even have to remove it at the end of the day, but I was trying to make as much room as possible. If you take one of these apart, you'll understand why I moved it. It seems like it might have been in the way, but at the end of the day, it wasn't. So enough of that. This side is done. Hopefully we're not going to have any problems that show up because of doing this, but you never know on an old car. So I'm going to start it, pull the car out, and let it run for a while and see if we got a coolant leak. Car's smoking pretty good. I put a lot of penetrating oil on the side of the exhaust air tube bolts, I guess, just in case they are going to have to come off. I was kind of trying to get ahead of the issue, but so far it doesn't seem like we're really leaking anything. The little tube in the back looks pretty good. I think I'm just cooking off whenever coolant was back there, and hopefully that's about it. So as you can see, these TPI motors are okay to work on at the end of the day if you take your time, and maybe if they're not your primary vehicle, in case something goes wrong, because like I've said many times, they are 30-year-old vehicles now, and when you take some things apart, you might have a problem and they will break. You can't really avoid it at a certain point when metals corrode. So I didn't film the one part where I was trying to fix that exhaust manifold flange, or EGR air tube flange. I was pretty upset when it happened, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to seal it up nicely, but it seems to be holding. I can't hear any exhaust leaks or air leaks, and I think it's fine. So that's going to about do it for this portion of the video. I'm going to go put some miles on the car and see if I can get that SeaFoam to do its job. Make sure no oil or coolant leaks pop up. In the next video, we're going to do its first service. I'm going to adjust the TV cable in it and make sure that the automatic transmission is working like it should. And we're going to go ahead and start servicing the rest of the car. And I think I got a set of tires lined up for it too, so that's going to be a small thing. But at this point, I have right under $200 into all the fixing on the car, and I have a perfectly running 3rd generation Firebird Formula with a TPI motor. So, hope you guys liked today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Definitely hit the subscribe button and come back for more content on this car and the 4th gen, which I may or may not have been neglecting to include in uploads in the last few months, but stuff will come on this. It's at a point right now where I'm really happy with it and I enjoy driving it as is, and cosmetically it's only going to improve from here. This stuff is expensive and it adds up, and I do this stuff for fun, so hope you guys understand that I'm doing what I can on it. So I hope you guys like the addition to the garage. If you do, definitely come back, and we'll see you guys next time.